scripture that pertains predominantly to the eclipse is Luke 21:25. There will be signs in sun and moon and stars. There will be signs in sun and moon and stars. And consequently, people look at astronomical events and they say, this is a proof, this is a sign of the near coming of Christ. We've had this again and again and again, and you hear these things that today they will tell you about something that's going to happen because we have the telescopes and everything to look out in space and see this stuff where 200, 300, 500, 800 years ago, we didn't have that ability. And so they get excited about this stuff and they say, this is a proof that the Lord's almost here and you better be ready. And there were people that predicted the rapture was going to happen on Monday because of this eclipse. And it just puts a bad taste in people's mouth when us Christians keep doing this. We just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Now, I want you to think about the eclipse for a moment. I do believe it can be used to highlight God's creative majesty. I do believe that you can point to that and say, man, God created it. God did that. That's really cool. And I think that's appropriate to do that. But it says nothing about the return of Christ. It only tells us God created the universe. It's beautiful. It's incredible. The heavens declare the glory of God. But it tells us nothing about the return of Christ because in the same chapter of the same book, where Jesus says, and this is Luke 21, it'll be a different book, obviously, Matthew and Luke. Luke 21 is the equivalent of Matthew 24. And Jesus there also talks about these coming events. But in Matthew 24, Jesus specifically says what? You cannot know when I'm coming. And this is just, we've talked about it a lot of times. You hear people, you will say that verse and they will just jump right to the signs and say, well, yeah, but what about these signs he told us to look for? He says you can't know when he's coming.